Part 1: The Mask That Outsmarts the World.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
What if the wisest thing you could do was to appear foolish? Imagine this. A man walks into a room of powerful people. He listens more than he speaks. He nods slowly, asks a few seemingly naive questions, and lets the others reveal themselves. He's underestimated, dismissed, maybe even mocked, but silently he's studying everything, calculating, waiting. And when the moment comes, he acts with such precision, such clarity, that the entire room shifts. That man is not a fool. He is a master of the ancient, uncanny art of playing dumb. This is not deception in the way we usually think of it. It is a psychological maneuver, a philosophical stance. And no one understood this better than Arthur Schopenhauer. Schopenhauer, the great pessimist of the 19th century, known for his brutal honesty about human nature, once said, "To be wise, we must know how to appear foolish." To most, this sounds paradoxical. Why would anyone choose to look weak, simple, or unaware? But to those who truly understand the nature of power, ego, and the human mind, it's a secret weapon. Let's begin with a deep premise. The world is not run by the smartest people. It's run by those who know how to navigate the egos of others. Intelligence, in its raw form, often threatens. It challenges. It provokes insecurity. And people, driven by vanity and self-importance, rarely respond to intelligence with grace. This is why Schopenhauer believed that appearing clever invites hostility, while playing dumb gives you freedom. You become invisible to the competitive instincts of others. You bypass resistance. You gain access. Think about how often you've been punished for being right. How many times have your insights been ignored simply because they made someone else feel small? This is not a flaw in your thinking, it's a flaw in the psychology of others. And Schopenhauer, ever the realist, didn't try to change people. He simply learned how to operate within the truth of human limitations. And that required humility, strategy, and sometimes concealment. So let's ask a deeper question. Is it more powerful to be seen as dominant or to be underestimated until the exact moment it benefits you? The art of playing dumb is not about becoming less. It's about holding back, about choosing when to reveal your depth and when to let the world believe you're shallow. This is not manipulation, it's conservation of energy. And, more importantly, it's survival in a world where perception often matters more than truth. In his own life, Schopenhauer was frequently dismissed, overshadowed by Hegel, mocked by academia, ignored by the establishment. But he never stopped seeing the world clearly. He simply learned to stop caring whether the world saw him clearly. That distance, that detachment, gave him a kind of psychological freedom that most people never taste. He didn't need to prove his brilliance. He just needed to understand the game. Let's pause here. Ask yourself, why do you feel the need to be understood all the time? Why do you correct people who underestimate you? Why do you fight to be acknowledged? What if that very fight is what drains you? What if the real power is not in being seen, but in seeing through? This is the hidden dimension of Schopenhauer's thought. He wasn't just a philosopher of suffering. He was a strategist of perception. He knew that in a world run by ego, the one who doesn't trigger ego wins. By playing dumb, You move through rooms undetected. You let others show their cards. You invite their arrogance to expose itself. And then calmly you act, not out of revenge, but out of clarity. There's a quote from Lao Tzu, "He who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know." This isn't about silence. It's about restraint. The more you show, the more you give others the tools to use against you. But when you hold your depth quietly, you control the frame. You decide when and how to reveal your mind. And that is true power. In psychology, we call this strategic self-presentation. You don't have to lie. You simply don't give everything away. You let people underestimate you. And in doing so, you gain a kind of leverage that brilliance rarely affords. You become the observer, the one who sees the truth while others are busy performing. Schopenhauer was deeply influenced by Eastern philosophy. He read the Upanishads, the Tao Te Ching. He understood the value of emptiness, of non-resistance, of letting go of the need to dominate. And so, his version of wisdom was not loud. It was quiet. It was the wisdom of the one who retreats, watches, and waits. Let's go further. Have you ever noticed how our culture rewards loudness? The showy genius, the charismatic speaker, the one who dominates the room. But behind every loud fool, there is often a quiet watcher. Someone who sees the whole game unfolding, who speaks only when necessary, who isn't trying to win in the moment because they are playing on a different timeline. This is where Schopenhauer's pessimism becomes useful. He believed that people are largely irrational, driven by the will by blind desire and ego. And if that's true, then trying to out-argue them, outshine them, or outsmart them in public is often a waste of energy. Instead, the art is to step aside, let them burn their fuel, and quietly position yourself where their fire cannot reach. Can you feel the power in that? Now imagine applying this in your own life, in conflict, in business, in relationships. Playing dumb doesn't mean becoming passive. It means becoming invisible until visibility matters. It means letting others believe they have the upper hand, while you gather information, strength, and perspective. It means moving through the world like water, soft, unassuming, impossible to grasp, yet capable of shaping mountains. Remember the words of Nietzsche, who admired Schopenhauer, even as he broke from him. He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster. The art of playing dumb protects you from this very thing. It keeps you from becoming the enemy. You don't fight fire with fire. You let it burn itself out. So now, a challenge. Think of a situation in your life where you are over-explaining, over-proving, or over-performing. What would happen if you stopped? If you let them think what they want? If you smiled, nodded, and held your truth like a secret weapon? Could you endure being underestimated long enough to win on your terms? That is the test of this art. It requires patience, discipline, the ability to hold your ego in check, but in exchange it gives you freedom and clarity, and eventually a kind of influence that no loud speech or clever argument can match. Because in the end, the world doesn't belong to the ones who shout the loudest. It belongs to the ones who see the most and speak the least. Part 2. The Invisible Blade. There is a hidden strength in stillness. a sharpness in silence. And in the art of playing dumb, that silence becomes a weapon not to harm, but to disarm, to remove the threat others perceive in you, to let their defenses drop, and to let their egos rise. And once again, you stand apart, not above them, not against them, but outside their game entirely. Schopenhauer understood this deeply. He said, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone." But he didn't mean solitude in the physical sense. He meant mental independence, the ability to remain untouched by the illusions and performances of society. And to do that, sometimes you must withdraw not into isolation, but into strategic invisibility. You must learn when to step back and let others show their hand. You must learn to be the one who knows, but pretends not to. Why? Because the moment you reveal your clarity, others begin to calculate around it. You become a target of their insecurity, a mirror to their inadequacy. And the more you shine, the more they will try to dim your light, not because you've done something wrong, but because you've reminded them of where they are not yet free. So the wise man, like Schopenhauer, moves differently. He does not rush to correct. He does not argue to be right. He does not educate the unwilling. He lets the world unfold as it must and chooses his interventions with surgical care. He plays dumb not because he is, but because he knows the price of being visibly intelligent. This might sound manipulative, but is it? Or is it simply adaptation? In a broken system, the one who survives is not the one who shouts into the void, but the one who learns how to listen to its silence. When everyone is trying to be seen, the true master becomes unseen. And in that space, he finds leverage. Let's look at this psychologically. In human interaction, dominance often triggers resistance. The moment someone feels intellectually outmatched, they either shut down, retaliate, or compete. But the one who plays dumb disarms that instinct. He becomes non-threatening. He invites disclosure. He creates a vacuum where others fill the space with their own revelations. And in that space, he learns everything he needs to know. Think about how powerful that is, to gain knowledge without asking, to build influence without effort, to navigate systems without declaring war on them. That is not cowardice. That is elegance. And elegance, in a world obsessed with noise, is revolutionary. Now take this to the realm of power. Schopenhauer once observed that the world is a tragedy to those who feel and a comedy to those who think. The one who plays dumb is laughing not with arrogance, but with understanding. He sees the absurdity of the social drama, the fragile egos, the endless performances, and he refuses to join the charade, not out of contempt, but out of clarity. He knows that true freedom is not found in proving yourself to others, but in not needing to. Imagine what your life would look like if you no longer needed to be right, or to be seen, to be praised. Imagine if you could walk into any room fully aware of your strength, but with no need to display it. That is the essence of this art. It is not self-denial. It is self-containment. But let's not pretend this is easy. It takes profound inner strength to let others think you are less than you are. It requires the taming of the ego, the mastery of pride, the patience to watch people misunderstand you and say nothing. And yet this restraint is the very soil in which real power grows. There's a deep psychological principle at work here. What is unspoken becomes unassumed. When you don't correct someone's misjudgment of you, you allow their illusion to remain. And while they operate under that illusion, you gain space. Space to maneuver, to observe, to act with precision rather than pressure. This is how the quiet mind becomes the strategic mind. It doesn't need to win every battle because it has already won the war within. It has no craving for validation, no hunger for applause. It acts not to be admired, but because it is aligned. And that alignment is what gives it its sharpness, like a blade so fine, it doesn't need to be drawn to be felt. Here's a question for you. What part of you still needs to be seen to feel worthy? What part of you speaks too soon, tries too hard, explains too much? Can you sit in a room where others misread you and not correct them? Can you walk away from someone's misunderstanding with a quiet smile instead of a burning rebuttal? That's the test, and it's where most fail. Because we are taught to associate silence with weakness. But Schopenhauer knew better. He knew that silence is where the real game begins. Let's talk strategy. In business, the one who plays dumb often learns the most. He listens while others boast. He nods while others posture. And then, when the stakes are right, he speaks with such clarity that the room freezes. Because no one saw it coming. Because they thought he wasn't paying attention. That is leverage. That is timing. That is power without noise. In relationships, playing dumb creates a space where people show their true selves. They drop their masks. They reveal their flaws. And while they think they are leading, they are actually exposing. This is not manipulation, it is discernment. And it can save you from years of misaligned connection. In debate, the one who plays dumb avoids the trap of egoic sparring. He doesn't fight to win. He waits for the other to defeat themselves. Remember, the loudest one in the room is often the most insecure. The wisest one is usually watching from the corner, sipping tea, saying nothing until the time is right. Even Socrates, the father of Western philosophy, built his entire method around this principle. He asked questions he already knew the answer to, not to flaunt his knowledge, but to reveal the ignorance of others. He played dumb to provoke discovery. And in doing so, he became immortal. So let's bring this home. If you want to master the art of playing dumb, you must first master your own mind. You must kill the urge to perform, to impress, to be understood. You must find peace in being underestimated. And you must turn your attention away from being seen and towards seeing. Because in the end, Schopenhauer teaches us this: the one who appears least dangerous is often the most free. In freedom, not dominance, is the real prize of the inner game. Don't be afraid to let them think you're weak. Just make sure that when the time comes, you're ready to reveal what they never saw coming. Part 3. The master of the inner game. There is a silence more powerful than any scream. A presence that does not demand attention, yet commands the room. The one who plays dumb is not hiding, they are watching. Not passive, but poised. And in that stillness lies a kind of supremacy that few ever understand. This is not the power of domination. It is the power of containment. The kind of power that Schopenhauer revered not because it conquered others, but because it conquered the self. To understand Schopenhauer is to realize that he was not trying to make us happy. He was trying to make us clear. He believed that most suffering comes from illusion, especially the illusion of ego, of importance, of the incessant need to assert ourselves. The art of playing dumb, at its core, is a rebellion against this need. It asks you to let go of the performance, the self-advertisement, the exhausting game of being seen. And in its place, it offers something quieter, rarer, and infinitely more powerful, freedom from needing to be anything at all. When you no longer need to prove your intelligence, your competence, or your depth, you unlock a radical psychological state, inner detachment. You are no longer reactive to the world's opinions. You are no longer baited by praise or wounded by insult. You become, as Schopenhauer might say, a ghost in the machine, present but ungraspable, known only to yourself, and untouchable by those who try to define you. This is not a retreat from life. It's a deeper engagement with it. Because once you stop spending energy managing appearances, you can redirect that energy inward into thinking, observing, building, creating. You stop leaking power through ego, and instead you begin to accumulate it, quietly, anonymously, until the moment comes when the world needs you to act. And when you do, it is not from identity but from essence. Imagine this: you walk through life needing nothing from anyone, not their approval, not their recognition, not even their understanding, and because of that, you are free to see them clearly without projection, without distortion. That is the rarest kind of intelligence. It doesn't seek to shine, it seeks to see. It doesn't try to convince, it simply knows. There's a story about Schopenhauer. Near the end of his life, a woman asked him, "Who are you?" And he replied, "I wish I knew." At first glance, this seems like the final confession of a philosopher broken by self-doubt. But there's something deeper here. Schopenhauer was not expressing confusion. He was expressing freedom from identity. He no longer needed to be someone. He had become no one. And in that, he was finally at peace. This is the final layer of the art of playing dumb. You don't just fake ignorance to fool others. You transcend the need to be seen as anything at all. You become fluid, empty, formless. And in that formlessness, you become capable of anything because you're no longer limited by the role you play. This echoes the Taoist idea of the uncarved block, the raw, natural state of being that has not yet been shaped by ego, expectation, or identity. Lao Tzu said, "The wise man is one who knows what he does not know." But even more than that, the wise man is one who does not need to be known. He is content to be misunderstood because he understands himself. But let's not turn this into pure abstraction. There is real, practical power in this way of being. In negotiation, the one who appears uncertain often gains the upper hand. In leadership, the one who listens more than they speak earns trust. In strategy, the one who conceals their strength controls the battlefield. And in personal relationships, the one who doesn't need to dominate emotionally becomes the one others trust most deeply. This is why Schopenhauer's thought has endured, not because it flatters us, but because it arms us. It gives us tools to navigate a world driven by unexamined ego. A world where people confuse noise with truth, visibility with value, and performance with power. Schopenhauer cuts through all of it, and what he leaves us with is clarity. So here's the question we must now face, perhaps the deepest one yet. Who are you when you stop trying to be someone? When you no longer need to be right, admired, or even understood? When you are content to be the observer, the witness, the invisible blade in a room full of noise? Can you endure being underestimated? Can you survive being seen as simple? Can you accept the discomfort of being misread because you know that your truth is deeper than any performance? If you can, then you have begun to master the art of playing dumb not as a trick, but as a philosophical stance. A way of moving through the world without needing it to validate your existence. This is not weakness. This is the highest form of strength. The strength to disappear from the ego's battlefield, and in doing so, win a war no one else even sees. In the end, Schopenhauer's wisdom is not just about the mind. It's about the soul. About shedding the layers of identity we've inherited from society, family, and fear. About returning to a place of stillness where nothing needs to be said, because everything has already been understood. The art of playing dumb is the art of remembering that you don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to be seen to be significant. You don't need to be praised to be at peace. You only need to know who you are and be willing to let the rest of the world forget. So the next time you're in a room filled with noise, remember this: say less, watch more, smile gently, and let them think you don't know. Because when the time comes, you will act with a clarity they never saw coming. And that, Schopenhauer would say, is the final proof of intelligence.